Hello, everyone, and welcome to Full Spectrum Cannabis with your hosts, the two smartest cannabis folks in town, Calandra Revering and Lance Asher. Enjoy the show.
All right.
We're back.
We're back. Well, like we say, we're black.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, let's
So,
get it.
Let's get it.
Oh, we have somebody that's not black.
Yeah. So you
with
say
us.
we're back,
I'm back.
and then I say we're black, and then
Sam is white.
that's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to start this off with something wildly inappropriate, I think.
What is that?
I don't know if it's inappropriate, but it's making me nervous, the thought that's already in my head.
Ooh, get it
But,
out.
you know,
right.
there's...
Yeah.
When hi everyone, I'm Sam. I'm the
Well,
producer.
we were going to tell you some things, but then you had
I jumped
other
right in.
stuff you wanted
I'll
to
just
get in.
jump into the thing.
This is Sam, our producer, that
Yeah.
is going to have some fun with us today.
Yeah.
I got
It's
some
called,
questions.
questions with
Dot,
Sam.
Dot.
All right.
dot
let's go.
dash perhaps. And at the end, there's some emoji. It's a smiley face. There's some cake.
And there's Sam. All right, so
And
here's
there's
the
Sam.
thing. Occasionally you hear these stories about someone who very nearly died. So that's the part of the inappropriate part, right?
Oh, sure. Very
But
nearly died.
They very nearly died, but in order to save their life, they needed like a new heart. You know, so it's tragedy all around because someone had to die for the heart to be harvested.
Mm-hmm.
Someone has to have their own, non-functioning heart taken out, and then they put the new heart in, right?
Right.
And then they've got cravings for things that they never craved before. And so like you're like an extra white guy like me, if I got a certain kind of heart, do you think I'd be like, oh my gosh,
What do you think?
this is where the inappropriate part comes in. But I'm like, no,
That's really
I
interesting.
can't
I
stop
think
eating
so,
fried
too.
chicken. Like I
Right.
don't understand
Something about it. Something about it. You know?
So you're saying if you received an organ from a black person, would you have a little more soul?
Yeah.
Probably.
Would I be
Probably.
like, holy shit, I can dance? Like,
Yes. Yes.
You're probably going to catch some rhythm.
yeah, like
You're probably going to catch some
it
rhythm.
feels like I don't wish this on myself in
But
any
if you
way.
did.
But I feel like if I'm ever gonna have rhythm and a little bit of soul like that, maybe
Yeah.
that needs to happen to me. So
Right.
maybe it can be
Could
just
be.
like a kidney or something.
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
Thanks,
great.
Calandra.
Yes.
You give me
Yes.
permission.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, all
All
of
right,
a
it
sudden-
felt
Have to find you
inappropriate.
or even a blood transfusion or something.
Yeah. I want something a little more permanent. Isn't the spleen useless? Like, don't you not need your spleen? Maybe I could just
Or the
get
gallbladder.
get mine taken
Yeah.
out and have a different one put in just for
Yeah.
fun.
just an completely unneeded surgery of putting something back into your body from somebody else so that you can gain
Yes.
rhythm.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And then
I feel like this could work.
Calandra's calling Sam one day. And, what are you up to, Sam? And he's like, I'm washing my chicken.
Cut watermelon and fried chicken. Why?
What is going on?
He's actually washing the chicken.
Yeah.
I fucking love that.
Washing the chicken.
Washing
I
the
get it.
chicken. Well, let's talk about that for a second.
Is this a black-white thing?
It for sure is.
It
Really?
is.
Yeah, you don't
It
wash
is.
your chicken, do you?
Because we do make jokes
I
about
think
that white people don't wash
Correct.
their chicken, and black people, we have to wash the chicken.
Yep.
We ain't cooking that bitch without washing.
Gotta wash it.
It's the
And
it's the
we-
cooking that fixes the non-washing.
No.
Yes.
No.
I mean,
No.
it's pre-washed.
You
They
got to
it.
wash that shit. Okay.
Oh,
You
goodness.
cannot make chicken without washing it.
Well, I mean, I can attest to the fact that you can. Yes, we eat a lot of chicken unwashed.
Unwashed chicken. Just
As
rolling
I
around.
stand there stiffly, unable to dance to the music and not washing my chicken.
Just like hands on your thighs, just like shimmering side to side, you know? Can't even shuffle, just a shimmer. You know? You're like,
Every now
"That's
and
not
again, my
even
head bobs a little bit. I'm like, oh, Jesus, what is...
Shimmer's not a movement. It is now.
You know, we also joke about the raisins. We
What
say that
about
white
raisins?
people put raisins in everything, like their potato salad and shit like that.
Well, right, yeah.
No, whoa.
Yeah, people do it.
Only in broccoli
Black people
salad.
ain't.
Well, sure, broccoli salad.
Okay, you're
or-
talking about the Cub Foods stuff, right?
Or like,
Or like my grandma or my mom. Yeah, I mean, we
We
were
put
making it before Cub. I don't know.
We were there before Cub was there.
That's
Way before code. You were putting raisins in a long time then.
Yeah, I got a story. I got a story about Cub.
Guess whose phone is going off?
Hit the side of the button. And I changed my ringer to
Rude.
smooth jazz. Let me
Smooth
tell
jazz?
you. Yeah, because so I was in LA earlier this week and my phone was ringing and Tony, our inventory manager, he was with us, LA. He said, I fucking hate that ringtone.
Your
He's
ringtone?
like, yeah. He's like, I've always wanted to tell you that. I hate that dry ass, boring ass ringtone. So I changed it to,
How long did you have it?
shit ever since I've had the phone.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
How long's Tony been with you as an inventory
Shit.
person?
A year.
Okay.
And
So it took him a year to say something.
Bless his heart.
Man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to make everything about black and white because I kind of, but it's funny shit sometimes.
Well, I mean, I think we got a bunch of that fun shit right out
Yeah.
of the way at the beginning here.
But my ringtone was a song by the Decemberists, which you don't know the Decemberists, do you?
Hell no.
Yeah, exactly. And then one day I was like, man, I am like the whitest dude in the world. If I've got a Decemberist song as my ringtone, whew, I had to change it. I
And
had to fix it.
if you're not watching this on YouTube, his shirt's very white too.
This is universal.
Well, I agree, but
Anyone can be comfortable in a Hawaiian shirt. I
think
found this
so,
out
too.
recently.
oh, really?
Yeah, it's just a couple of years ago I bought my first Hawaiian shirt and I'm like, fuck, I don't think I want to wear anything else.
Yeah.
I feel calmer, more at peace, and more connected to people with the Hawaiian shirt on because people just walk up to you and they're like, I think you're okay. Like, You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, you want to hear something interesting?
Yeah.
So a good friend of mine,
I should have said no.
you should have said
no,
You should have
I
said
don't want to hear nothing
You really
interesting.
like this story.
I'm a bad guest. Should have said no.
Well, a good friend of mine, she was a public defender here in Minneapolis. She got a job offer in Alaska, and she's now a judge in Alaska. But she said that the lawyers, particularly the men in court, wear Hawaiian shirts to court.
Okay.
And that is regular attire. And if we show up in court, with a suit or dressed up, everyone else, including the judge, is looking at the lawyer like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Because that is how they dress,
I
showing up for court.
I wonder if that puts puts an accused person more on a calm and sort of even level. You know what I mean? Like, because lawyers always here in Minnesota, they're intimidating looking usually.
Yeah.
They're like showing up in tweed and
They're like we're above all of you, and then
Yeah.
here you are in court, and you don't look as good as the rest of us.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if that would help a little bit.
I think it probably would, because one other thing she told me that was really interesting is that because of the Alaskan culture, you have a much more diverse jury and you have many more acquittals than you
I'm
have
sure.
in the U.S. because of
or the
just
continental.
I was going to
Yeah.
correct her too because
Yeah.
she's an attorney.
Yeah.
So
It's fun correcting.
It is.
Yeah.
It's more fun to correct attorneys than other people.
So
Yeah.
more than
Very sure.
the rest of the continental
Accountants are fun to
U.S.
correct.
Maybe I would
Wow.
feel differently if I went there. I've been planning to go to Alaska, but yeah, she
Sam's got a
said
shirt.
it's.
I've got a little sister up there, a bunch of kids. I mean, nephews and
I think we should go record in Alaska.
don't they have some sort of? I mean, Alaska's pretty down with cannabis.
Yeah,
Don't they have some sort
they
of
do.
convention or something that you're queen of conventions? We've got a show about cannabis. Let's do this.
Why don't we
Yeah.
just put on our own convention?
That's
in Alaska?
exactly what I was going to say. Why don't we do that?
I mean,
Why not?
I mean, we have
It's
all
done.
of the money in the world.
yeah,
Whatever we want.
yeah.
Right?
because
Exactly, green elevator.
Because-
let me take you there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It will take you where you want to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
I like
think
it.
we should definitely do it.
Yeah.
I'm down with it.
I mean,
Okay.
why not cross Canada to get it done instead of just do it right where we are?
Yeah.
you can fly right over Canada.
You can fly over.
I drove up to Alaska.
yeah,
You
I hear
did.
That's a
Yeah.
crap show.
I'll just. This is a little bit cannabis related.
Okay.
It's going to be
Right.
a story.
Okay.
I'll try and keep it relatively brief.
Okay.
I'm a storyteller.
Yes.
Little sister getting married, moving up to Alaska. This is like 2009 or 10 or something like that. Anyway, she's moving up to Alaska, but she wants to take all of her stuff from Minnesota and get it to Alaska, right?
And you have a truck.
Nope. She and her husband buy a $900 van and they stuff it full of stuff and they build a wooden box on top and they fill that full of stuff and then they wrap it in tarps and then they can't find anyone who's crazy enough to drive a van that only costs $900 all the way up to Alaska. And I said, I'll do it, you know? So my dad didn't want me driving up there alone. Plus he wanted to drive to Alaska. So he came along and then two other friends, he recruited two other people. We had to get another vehicle and fill that with people and stuff. So we drove up to Alaska, right? But
I was
driving.
thinking about weight capacity, and I was like another person. And
Yeah.
No.
Like calculating like
keeps
200,
adding people on.
250,
Oh.
Yeah.
250, 200.
Plus this
Probably
thing,
already weighed down.
Yeah.
this van is stuffed, like packed to the gills with stuff. And then the top's filled, right? And so I'm driving the van and I hadn't really thought about this, but I've crossed into Canada many, many times in my life. But I get to the Canadian border and I'm like, oh shit.
What do you have?
Yeah, they're going to ask me what's in the van. I'm like, so they do. They're like, hi, what brings you in today? I'm like, oh, driving stuff up to Alaska for my little sister. And they're like, great, what's in the van? And I'm like, I'll just be honest with you. I've got not a fucking clue. Like, I do not know. And yet, if you go through the border, you know, they can just take your stuff apart.
Sure.
Like if they choose to, and then they don't put it back together for
No.
you. You have to. We would have been there for a week
Yeah.
putting shit back into that van. And they were like, all right, sounds good. See you later. And then we drive for four days or whatever through Canada. And it hadn't dawned on me, but I get to the U.S. border from Canada back into the U.S. in Alaska. And I'm like, oh shit, they're going to ask me what's in the van again. So I went through the same process. What's in the van? I'm like, I have not a fucking clue. It is my sister's stuff. I think it's like childhood stuff. She had me drive it up here. You know, it's been a long, harrowing trip. Anyway, so I get through the border again, drive another 2 days because Alaska is enormous.
Yeah.
Get to my sister's house, and she says, oh my gosh, you're here. And barely gives me a hug and runs over to the van and starts unloading stuff because it's all her stuff that she wants, right?
Right.
Yeah.
First thing she pulls out, one of those little plastic Fisher Price record players with the like 4 little blue, yellow, green, red records.
Yeah.
I'm like, we just spent $3,500 in fuel driving across the treacherous Canadian wilderness so you could play with your record player that you played with as a child. There was nothing of value in that van. Not a single thing of value in the van. All just trinkets, shitty trinkets.
Just Fisher Price in it.
Yeah.
Do you still claim her as your sister?
I love her to death. But my concern was the cannabis relation part is I was worried they're going to be like, you got weed in there. Like, oh, shit.
I actually thought you were going to say there was weed in the record player.
That's where I was.
No.
That's where my head went.
No, it was
Yes.
it was just a little record player. I'm like, you can't buy a used one of these in Alaska. Like, you got to ship it up here
Yeah.
at my peril, perhaps.
Well,
it was fun though.
This is
Oh God, that was a long
just
story.
a story about value and how different people place value on things, right? 'Cause,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to speak for Calandra, but it sounds like that's garbage.
I would agree.
Yeah.
And especially since he drove through Canada, which
Right.
weed is legal, and Alaska, weed is legal. And I thought
It
for
was
sure-
not at the time though.
It wasn't at the time. Okay.
No, this was long
I
enough
thought
back.
for sure he was going to say he pulled like a bag of weed out of the record
Gosh,
player.
I wish that would have been the
I
end of
know.
this story.
I know.
It was
I know.
just, I might have weed. They didn't have any.
It,
The record player. Not even one that works. Like,
All right.
no
Here's-
vinyl, just like plastic with like
little things on it.
grooves in it.
And then it goes ting 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 ting.
but he
ting.
was afraid.
that one.
I was afraid
He
of
was
the weed.
afraid. Yeah.
I was afraid that
Yeah.
maybe they had some, like their favorite bong from college or something in there somewhere, and that they were going to bring out a dog and sniff the van. They're going to be like, "We're taking everything out, sir."
Right.
Like, oh shit, Telsha.
Yeah.
Her name's Telsha. Whose name is Telsha?
Telsha?
Yeah.
That's her name?
Yeah, it's an old family name from Germany.
Telsha.
Telsche. What?
Telsha. Interesting.
What? Anyway, so here we are on the Full Spectrum Cannabis Show. This is what I would like. I'm so thrilled to be a guest. I'm a terrible guest because I'm nervous. I've never done this before.
I know.
It's
You'll make it.
I have 3 shows of my own.
Yeah. He's got it. He's got it. The challenge that Sam's talking about is not taking over a show.
That's right. So here's what I'd like to do.
Okay.
This is what I'd like to do. I gave very little thought to this because the guest that we had booked canceled just this morning. But I thought, here's what I'd like to see as producer of the show, right? Mm-hmm. I would like to see some questions get answered. So your whole questions with Sam ...
It was questions with ... Sam.
Oh, okay, got it.
That's what it was.
You
said I was over explaining it before, but you still
I clearly didn't absorb it. No. But
Love it.
Here's the deal. I don't know if I'm typical of the way people feel about cannabis, but I think I have a little bit of a perspective that is clearly not the perspective you two have. And so I'm gonna give the audience an opportunity to, if there are people out there like me who think of this in the same way, here's the questions that are really burning for me, right?
Yeah, the thousands.
Yeah.
Right? The thousands
of
our
questions.
Audience.
Oh, the hundreds.
Well,
of
there's
thousands.
hundreds of questions probably, but there's thousands listening.
I think the
Not
show,
tens of thousands, but thousands at least.
it is actually growing. We're new to this. We're the whole YouTube thing and all the rest of it. Like, we'll figure it all out. But yes, there is value in this show.
Yeah.
And you two are great.
We are.
So here's the deal. I can't really consume too much THC these days. It just does not generally sit well with me.
Right.
Okay. So, but I did smoke, Mexican ditchweedy type marijuana.
Yeah.
In the, I guess that would be mid 90s or something in college. So a long time ago, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not afraid anymore to admit that. There was like a long period of time where there was sort of a stigma around, like, you just didn't admit really that. And
right.
Just like, what's his name? The old president there, Bill Clinton. Like, I didn't inhale. Like, bullshit, Bill. Bullshit.
Yeah, you were just smoking a cigar.
I was just hanging out with the people who were doing it, but I put it in my, but I didn't inhale. Like, bullshit. Yeah. But anyway, that kind of stuck around for a while, right? Because there was this, you're not supposed to do this. It's illegal. Don't talk about it. But there's a whole different culture of people like yourselves who that's not the way you feel, right? Like, you don't feel like you shouldn't openly talk about it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct? This is sort of a question. I want to start there.
Yeah, that's great. So
how does that work in your mind? Like, how is it, where is the difference? And what is it? I can't even tell you what people like me are stuck on. Like, why are we stuck with this mindset that it's taboo to even talk about it?
Right.
Even today.
Even today, I have a little bit of that in me.
Yeah.
I'm trying desperately to get over it, but I'm.
We get a lot of that in the dispensary. People who are apprehensive about not only talking about it, but trying it. Mm-hmm. We've had people come in and say, I've driven past here at least 10 times. And I finally decided to come in and see what this is all about. And then they say, I smoked it in the 70s, the 80s, and then I had kids and, got married and just never tried it again. Or they say they had a really bad experience and just never tried it again. What we try to encourage people is that this isn't the same thing as what you had back then. Now it's much more regulated. You don't have to worry about that really bad feeling you had back then.
Okay. Because there's a difference between what is out there now and what was out there then?
Yeah.
Like, what this is where people like me, I don't understand that. Like, what's the difference? Because isn't it just THC?
I think back then you didn't know what you were getting. You were getting people making things at home. They're mixing them with other things. Maybe they're dipping your weed in embalming fluid, or there were all kinds of things going on. There were
that wet.
It's
Okay.
called wet. Yeah,
They
like
call that
from
wet.
training day. Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
It's essentially PCP in a sense.
Okay.
Yeah. You
Right.
know, even a friend told me just yesterday that he went to Houston a couple weeks ago. And of course, we know weed isn't legal in Texas.
Okay.
So he goes to a
Just
smoke
being mean
shop.
is and shit.
Yeah.
Like
Just being
like keeping
Anyway.
keeping people from claiming that they've got freedoms, but then taking their freedoms away from them
Exactly.
seems to be a thing that's legal in Texas.
Exactly.
Whatever.
Sure it is.
I'm kidding.
Exactly.
I love Texas.
Exactly. So, and he's in his 60s. And he goes to a smoke shop and he said, you know, I really wanted something similar to what I get from your place. He said, so I go to a smoke shop, buy something. He said, I felt horrible for days.
Okay.
He said, I don't even know if I want to try it again because I feel so. He said, right now, he said, I'm high still right now. So
It had been 2 weeks.
it had been 2 weeks.
No,
It's just.
wasn't that, but
He
The
just felt
regulation-
really bad. Can I
I
have
think the
that?
phone needs to come back to Calandra's hand so that it can be. It can be.
Yeah, I got in high school trouble, which means I got my phone taken away because I was looking at it too much.
Yeah.
So
we got to put it in the box. Everybody can read your screen, by the way. So
I don't want people
there you
reading
go.
my
Just
screen.
let-
If you
just-
read it, you got to do the work.
I'm just trying to help you out. So that, all right.
So you know, that's one thing is encouraging people of the content. How much is
I like
actually
this.
in there?
I like this because well, I got a couple of different things to go into, but that answers a little bit of that question for me. So the bringing marijuana, which has been around, everybody's been doing it for.
Yeah.
If you wanted it, it was always available. It's never not been available. But bringing it into a marketplace regulated by the state means that what we're going to consume is much more likely, if not 100% likely, to be
Yeah.
what we think it is, right?
Yeah.
Versus way back when it could have been, because it passed through so many hands and people were doing some
Yeah.
weird shit. It could have been other things as well.
We
Yeah,
used to call that stepping on it.
Yeah.
because
How
if
many
the
times
person,
has it been stepped on?
yes,
And I didn't really realize that would have happened with weed. To be, you know, like I knew that about like I wasn't
Yeah.
I wasn't snorting anything
Yeah.
up my nose because I was worried. Oh, what the hell
Well,
is
if you
this?
were worried about weed, you were worried about that too.
Yeah.
I wasn't worried about the weed, is what I'm saying. I
Right,
didn't
right.
realize that, but I will say, Gene Dold and family, if you're out there still, Gene. I worked with Gene in college at Sears in St. Cloud, and Gene was just a fantastic dude. But he had lost a son who was around my age a couple of years before I met him, and then we got to be friends, and I found out that he'd lost his son, and I kind of felt a little, you know, I don't know, I'm speaking for him,
Sure.
but I think it felt like we were friends that way. But anyway, Gene had lost an arm, lost all the fingers on his other hand in an accident in Cold Spring with a granite slab, but he was a super nice guy, and he took me out golfing.
Yeah.
And I smoked pot at that time. I was in college, and he's like, would you like some? I'm like, oh, Gene, I didn't, you know, you're 60 years old. I didn't know you smoked pot. He's like, oh, yeah. And I tried it.
Yeah.
And then I didn't know who or where I was
Yeah.
for like 2 days. And I'm like, don't fucking smoke pot with Gene Dold, because that is not regular pot.
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know where he's getting his stuff from.
I assumed it maybe
Well, this
had
is-
something in
Maybe,
it.
yeah.
This is a long time ago too, right? Like
Yeah.
how many years ago was this?
I mean-
20 years ago. 30
Oh, no.
years
No.
ago.
1998 or something, 97.
Yeah, so like 30 years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we're there.
It was the old days.
It's the old days, but also it really comes down to the amount in which we ingest, right? And what Calandra's talking about in the dispenser are some of the questions that they're going to ask around. Talking about the experience that they've had so far. You don't get that without asking some questions of the guest that's in front of you, right? And that person's there for help. Right?
Yeah.
They're there to understand more about it. And the regulation is key. Number one, you've got a certificate of analysis. You can scan the QR code on the back of the package. There's a lot of products that are maybe out there that don't go to where they need to go to.
What does that
they'll
mean?
Just go to the website, and then you have to go in and you have to find lab results within the website. Usually
Yeah.
it's pretty easy to
Okay.
find if they're
Okay.
doing that.
Yep.
But really what you want to do is on the back of the can, there's a QR code. So you scan that QR code, and the best way to do this is it goes to a folder, and everything is clearly labeled as far as certificate of analysis goes. If you have like 1,000 products, then it probably needs to go to the specific certificate of analysis. But for mine, it just goes into a folder, and you can find something for lemon
But
tea,
let's
you can
be
find it
fair.
for the other.
No one's fucking doing that.
Nobody's doing that.
Right.
But you can.
But what you're saying is, because of the regulation and because of what it takes to get into a dispensary and to have it in a bar and to have it in a restaurant, that we can now trust the same way we do with alcohol. Like, if I'm getting that, it will have in it what it says it has in it.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
And here's the yes and no, because the yes and no
Yes
is
and
on,
no is not
on the
helpful.
alcohol side of it, because there's a variance.
There's a little range.
Yep, there's a little bit of a range. So if we're talking about ABV, we could probably account for about 1% of the ABV, right?
Mm-hmm.
So not 1% either direction, but 1%. So if they say it's 6.5,
It could be 7 or
it could be
6.
7.5. It could be 5.5, right? And the variance isn't that great.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
And that's regulated as well. And I just can't remember. I think that.
But it's similar with
I think that it's a plus minus 10% is what you can get away with. So your 6.5 could really be 6.8.
Yeah, yeah.
maybe, or 6.3. That's the variance that's there. We have similar variances of 10% up or down based off of what it says on the package
Yep.
to how it matches up with the certificate of analysis. The key with the certificate of analysis that I'm trying to get to here is that's going to tell you what else is in there, right? So the package says there's 10 milligrams of THC. You go to the certificate of analysis, it's going to say there's 10.08 milligrams of THC. Then it's going to go, is there CBC? Is there CBD? Is there CBN? Is there CBG? Is there any of the other C's
Right.
that are
And
out
these are
there?
all cannabinoid
Cannabinoids.
derivatives that
Right.
affect
It's going to tell you those things. And so the can is also supposed to tell you what those things are. But the only thing that's really regulated is the THC content. That's what absolutely needs to be found. Right, and then they do microtoxins and microbioles and pesticides and all of those things. So it's an excellently clean product because of the testing requirements that are around it. But you can inform yourself through this certificate of analysis on what other cannabinoids may
Sure.
be in there. But it really comes down to tolerance, right? So if you have zero tolerance. So in this scenario, you had zero tolerance, and then you smoked, right? If you have zero tolerance, and
I was already a person who smoked pot.
oh, you were already smoking pot.
Yeah, there
Oh,
was just
his
something
weed.
different with D.
Then he might have had a nice little hash hole in there.
Gene told me.
Do you know what a hash hole is?
No.
Oh, okay.
But
What you gotta tell us what a hash hole is?
So a hash hole, like in a if you're gonna roll a joint, right? You run a bead of hash in the joint after you put your ground flour in there. You do that, and then you roll that up, and you've got a nice little hash hole in there. And so that's, of course, going to increase the potency
Yeah.
I think
of that
Gene,
joint.
Gene had been in Vietnam, and Gene had survived Vietnam.
Yeah.
Then come back and had the granite slab fall on him.
Yep.
And so I think Gene was comfortable with being a little bit angry at life at that point. So there was probably something.
There's something in there.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
a lovely man.
Well, aside from the content,
Yeah.
there is a mental and visual issue with trying to get someone to use THC again. So I tell you that to say, the reason behind the concept too of the way the dispensary is laid out is you come in, you see all this artwork, and you see these books, and folks over 30, over 40, a lot of us have college degrees or some type of education or training. So you feel a little more comfortable seeing a big book as soon as you come in that says weed.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
And then you kind of look around, you're like, oh, I like a good art gallery. So you get into kind of this mode of, intellectual thoughts. And then you see the coffee table with all these weed books. And,
Okay.
we even have a really cool book called Prison Ramen. Okay.
Is this like recipes from San Quentin or something?
It is actually recipes from prison, because we try to still keep, the social awareness aspect.
Yep.
But you kind of get into this state of mind where like, oh, okay, this looks very informative. And then you go talk to a bud tender who educates you, and then chances are, guess what? You'll look right over. There will be someone else your age with just as many gray hairs,
Right.
asking questions too. And you're like,
I don't have any gray, do I?
just a few, just a few.
I haven't looked lately,
But
is there
I
gray
do
in
too.
there?
I do too. I dye my gray hair.
Okay.
But you feel much better, seeing someone your age asking the same questions. So we just try to create, and even some of our advertisements have
Okay.
folks over 50, so you're like, oh,
I'm
it's not
cool
so
with
bad.
it.
Yeah.
I'm really trying to give up. So this is Green
It's the
Elevators
stigma.
Lemon Teeny. Right?
Yeah, so let's try this. I think all of us have had this one, so I'm going to follow this up very quickly with new formulation.
Cool.
So
Yep.
I'd
Ready.
love to hear what.
And
you
this one
think
is
about
dosed.
it. This one is dosed.
Okay,
That's why
I will
there's
have
such
just
a
a
small amount of
Tiny
And
amount.
this is
That's-
not communion. We're
This-
cheering
well,
here.
if it was, then you'd be really happy with communion.
Okay.
Very
You like that
quickly,
one?
we're going to follow that up. Might as well just get this out of the way.
Calandra
right now.
does not like that because it's not sweet enough for her. I know this.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just.
It's tart.
I like it.
It is
It's a-
tart. It's grown up lemonade.
It's going, yeah.
It's tart and not overly sweet. So this is not dosed, which you can have more of. What are you looking at me? Is it because I called you a child? Is that what happened? I did not intend.
I didn't make the chafe like,
I didn't see.
Like when you
I
first
didn't
feed a
see-
kid a lemon.
I didn't see the
That's
look.
so cute. You got to do it
orange
to every
tea.
baby. You got to feed them
hey,
a
I
lemon.
like that. See, I liked it, but that's good. I love orange too. Like I
Yeah.
love orange sherbet, or I love anything orange. Lemon tea.
I might
I
have
just
to
have
try
a
it
thing
again
for.
to really get a.
You can after this.
Yeah, we can do it after the show. But these are not dosed, so I
No.
don't need to worry.
Yeah.
Okay, this is just to taste the.
So this is
flavor.
lime teeny.
Okay, I will tell you, I'm more of a lime person than lemon. Mm-hmm. Whereas a lot of people, they prefer lemon over lime. I'm a little different. I buy bags of lime when I go to the grocery
really
store.
love limes.
I love limes. I love this.
You love
You've
this.
been down to Mexico, right?
Oh, yeah.
You ever been to one of those places where they're just like, they're just on the tree right
Yes.
here, and
Yes.
and like you're eating, and then you're like, oh,
Yes.
and you can squeeze it right on your food.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Gotta love that.
Yes.
I know.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
My aunt's had a lemon tree that has produced a few lemons over the years. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
But it doesn't produce
We need to
lemons
go to
like
her
other
house.
places do.
No,
We need to go to her house.
but I like limes.
Holidays sometimes.
Yeah. They have a lot of lemon and lime trees in Arizona that I just absolutely love.
Conference.
Love that
conference talk.
Yeah.
All right, I have some questions.
Okay, let's do
Can
it.
I get some more of that lime, please?
Nice.
Yeah.
You
Here,
made
here,
one she
here.
likes.
I know.
I like it.
I'm more of a lime than
Well, here's
lemon
the
person.
here's the fun thing. Not all three are for everybody.
I didn't.
Exactly.
I didn't care for the orange one as much as I did the lemon and the lime. Something.
Yeah, it's calmer.
Yeah. I don't
Calmer.
know.
I
And
think. Would you crank the orange up a little bit? Because that's what I was thinking.
I
Like
think
crank
maybe-
the orange just a touch more.
I think maybe that's it. Plus,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think following lemon with orange works. Sort of because
yeah.
it hit me funny at first, and then
Right.
the aftertaste was funny. But yes.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yep, I get it.
Yeah.
All right. Questions. Okay. Let's get into. I really do have
I
questions.
wonder what's coming next.
Well, okay, I'm raising kids, and my kids are in their teenage years,
Yep.
and I did not smoke pot nor drink alcohol until I was 18. It was a conscious decision on my part. I wanted to make it through high school without fucking my life up.
Right.
You know, and then I went and lived in Germany for a while, and they're letting these kids drink at 15 years old, or
Right.
16 is legal, but 14, 15, if they're at a community festival or party, which these happen all the time, right?
Yeah.
They
Every
will
week.
let the kid have the drink, the beer.
Yeah.
And if they're 14 or 15, there's all the parents and all these older kids, and then the young kid there, and there's like the table of young kids, and everybody makes sure they don't have more than one or maybe two beers. That's it. They're not there to get drunk, but they can socialize with the people, and they learn how to do these things incrementally with adults. In America, we don't do that. We say, don't do any of this stuff, and then we just throw them to the wolves, you know? And so both with alcohol, but we're here to talk about cannabis. What is going on with the kids? Because they are all consuming gummies and edibles and THC drinks, from what I can see. And is that okay? I just, to me, it seems like it's not quite okay, you know? And I just don't know the answer.
Yeah, I think that I don't know the answer either, but I believe that cannabis is, if there's going to be one of them that's consumed, I would prefer for my own children to consume cannabis and not alcohol. That's what I would like for it to be. Is it okay that kids are? I mean, they're going to do what they're going to want to do anyways. I mean,
This is the way I
was
feel,
15
too.
or 16, right? I mean, that was my experience. Keeping our kids clear of intoxicants, mostly nicotine, I think, is probably the worst of all of them in my mind. I think nicotine and the amount that children are vaping these days, and I mean,
Oh, God.
everybody's a chimney,
Yeah.
you know, and you know, nicotine's tough. Nicotine's really, really tough. I mean, quitting cocaine's way easier than quitting nicotine, right? And I'm sure there's plenty of people that are gonna call bullshit on that, but then they probably haven't done any cocaine or nicotine. I don't know, because I mean, if they're still sitting there puffing on a device and they're not doing cocaine, I mean, I've kind of proven my theory. But yeah, I don't like the.
You're not answering the question, sir.
Which one?
You know, I
I did
think,
answer the question.
No, you're good. You're good. The kids. Lander, what's your take on it?
You know, and this opens up another avenue that I'll kind of touch on. My husband and I dealt with this issue a lot when we got married, because, as we all know, blending a family is really tough.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband had 2 daughters. I had my son. And I've always been against cannabis use, period, because, you know, I was raised.
Wait a fucking minute. What did you just say?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm saying cannabis use with my son.
Sure.
Oh, thank you for the clarification.
Let me clarify.
It was a
With
little-
my son.
A little too global of a statement. there.
Yeah.
You just said I've always been against cannabis use.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you doing
Okay,
on this show?
let me-
Why did I invite you? Why did I conceive of this?
Okay, let me clarify.
Thank you.
Because we're talking about kids.
Choose your words carefully.
Okay.
Sam's here.
Now, when I would go on
You were
vacation
opposed to
with
him.
my friends to Jamaica,
Yeah.
you know, what goes on in Jamaica stays in Jamaica. Let's say that.
Sure.
There's a
But-
little bit of that out there in the world, right?
Yeah.
They have to experience life. They have
Yeah.
to do things.
Yes, but when you're raising kids, you don't want your kids to see mom smoking weed.
No.
Right?
No.
Okay. That's what I mean. So, you know,
Not
my
mom,
husband,
but dad's.
mom and dad.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, but
So-
dads get away with shit. And,
Yeah,
and
all
so
the
do
that
uncles,
goes to
remember?
blending
Uncles.
blending the family.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So dad, my husband, is very laid back. And guess what? he smokes weed.
Right.
Like, you know, in the garage, he smokes weed.
It's a known thing.
Yeah.
It's out there. You couldn't miss it.
Well, and see, that's the thing. It was known by his daughters.
Yep.
Whereas I would never tell my son, hey, I went to Jamaica and I smoked a joint.
I would
never.
I would
Right.
never is
Never.
a phrase that my boys, if they were here, they'd be like, I would never.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
that's what I told them for years. If they, you know, when they were 8, 10, 12 years old, 14, if they're like,
Exactly.
Dad, did you drink, you know, or in the garage or whatever? Like, I would never.
Exactly. Exactly.
Now they look at me, they're like, you fucker. All
Yes.
those years of
Yes.
saying I would never.
Would
and
never.
you were.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then one day my son, he's like 18. And he's like, Mom, did you know Mark smokes weed in the garage? I said, absolutely not. No. I said, you're smelling. He's like, nah, Mom, I'm pretty sure that's weed. and, you know, we would actually have conflict because he raised his daughters to believe this is okay, this is acceptable, it's a plant, it's from the earth, all the things we hear today. Whereas,
Right.
you know, I am really trying to teach my son to follow the law.
Okay.
That
I
was
like that.
my perspective
Yep.
in not exposing my son to that. But of course, I'm a defense attorney. I'm defending this every day in court, but yet having a black son, I didn't want him to deal with being pulled over and, you know, oh, we smoke weed, get out of the car, we're going to search your car. So my perspective on raising kids and them using marijuana, my perspective was I need to protect my son. I
Yeah.
don't want him to go to jail. I don't want him to be assaulted by the police. I don't want him to be kicked out of school. So my range in keeping him away from marijuana was much broader than someone who's white.
But
it also, you know, caused an issue with my marriage and blending a family because my husband's like, fuck that, you know?
And I don't know I'm not suggesting that either of you would have an answer for this,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
completely understand what you're
Yeah.
saying. And I worked with kids for a very long time, and I still, you know, do sometimes. To me, it's protecting all of them.
Yeah.
Like I want our society right now, and whether it's alcohol or THC, like we're not necessarily modeling healthy lifestyles as adults. Not we, but the
Right.
collective we.
Right.
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 And the, you know, the entirety. I'm not saying America is not bad. I'm not bagging on America.
Mm-hmm.
The whole world has these types of things. This is just a human thing, right?
Right.
But we are ushering in an era. We went from an era where everything was illegal, and you just didn't talk to anyone about it, to an era where it's legal. And now everywhere I go, it feels like every adult my kids interact with is like, look, you want some gummies? You know, like to each other. And everyone's kind of living in this like, isn't it exciting that we gave up this whole illegal thing? And the, you know, the putting aside all of the lives that were ruined, like not to put them aside, but it's terrible. We don't want to talk to that. But I still look at kids and I think, can you just hold off a couple of years?
Yeah.
Like, can you? So if we're going to be more open and honest and upfront about it, and it's going to be in stores and it's going to be legal and it's going to be in their face, it's got to be a cultural thing because now it's not an illegal thing.
Right.
And the cultural thing I would love is like, you know, the science on this is pretty clear. You're going to be better off waiting until you're 17 or 18, you know, because it can have some effects on their little brains if they're too young.
Yeah.
You know, if they're not formed enough, and your brain, kids' brains are still very much forming until they're around 25. It's unreasonable to ask them to wait until they're 25. There's way too much partying that needs to happen between 18 and 25. I get it. I'm not telling you kids you shouldn't do fun things, but wouldn't you want them to just wait a little bit?
Yeah, but you know, there are many reasons why teenagers and kids use marijuana. And I have found in practice that a lot of kids use marijuana to cope with what's going on at home.
Yeah.
and coping with events that have been in their past, especially if they've been in foster care, or if they have a parent who is an absent parent, if they're dealing with abuse, or if they're dealing with mental health issues, and they're trying to focus in school, or they're trying to just get through the day and not think about other things that may distract them from their education or being successful.
Let me jump in super quick on this, and the reason why I want to jump in is we're talking about one specific thing, which is, well, kind of one specific thing. 2, alcohol, cannabis, right? I brought up nicotine. I brought up nicotine on purpose because
we didn't even get into opioids and the prescription pill problems and Adderall and
right. But when we think about what it is that we are comfortable with our children being prescribed, right? Mm-hmm. We just are like, oh, well, that's what the doctor said, right? So now let me flip it. If the doctor said your child needs to be on 50 milligrams of CBD on a daily basis because it's going to help regulate this child's mood, right? They're going to be calmer. They're not going to have as many racing thoughts as they have. This is what we're going to try. And the dose that I'm going to prescribe right now isn't the final dose, right? Like this is, we're going to work this together. We're going to figure out what we can figure out. This is the Adderall. This is the...
they did this. We've been putting kids on stuff to regulate mood. From our youths, like they didn't give us stuff to keep us in line. No, they just said, "Get the F out of the house." Right, get the fuck out of the house.
Or you were going to get a whooping.
You were going to get a whooping.
Yeah.
And listen, I know the world's a dangerous place, and you might end up drowning or getting abducted. I don't care. Don't come back until the streetlights turn on or whatever, Like, that's how our parents love them, but that's how they dealt with these things. I'm not saying that we should, that we would have the answers to, are these drugs good for the kids?
Right.
I'm not telling people how to parent, but I do worry that if you're 14, 15 years old and you're dealing with some sort of trauma or some intergenerational trauma. They're talking about things being passed genetically down the line. Trauma can kind of stay with, I believe in that stuff. Mm-hmm. But it feels to me like the solution is not more and more or different chemicals that we keep trying to figure it out. It's more like we've got to be a better society in general. Yeah, I don't know how to get there.
Agreed.
But I think that would be a better fix than that. But all in all, the regulated THC market, the kids are going to end up getting it. I would prefer they wait, but at least it's a known thing. It's not a black market street drug that you're not sure what's in it. They might be laced with something. It might be stepped on a million times, whatever. This is something. So I guess that's a little bit of a positive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? And also, you don't need to. But if you're gonna, right, and you are going to be a little bit younger, and there's a lot of things you shouldn't be doing when you're young.
Uncle Lance, Uncle Sam, and Aunt Calandra say, no, hold off a while.
Yeah.
But I hear what you're saying.
Ideally, hold off a little
Please.
while. If you're not, then you need to ask some more questions.
Can you?
It doesn't need to be underground. Underground is where you get into too much trouble.
It does.
Right? And when your parents are saying, hey, seriously, just call me, right? The best thing the thing that tells you that you're an okay parent is when your kid is in some sort of something and you get a phone call.
I love that.
You did an all right job.
Yeah,
right?
You can call me.
Right?
You can find my numbers.
Exactly.
Call Lance. Call any of us. We'll come help you.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't care whose kid you are.
When your first call is your parent.
Yeah.
That's the best. Yes.
Yeah.
Then that's
job,
when you
parent.
did an all right job.
Yeah.
Right? So good on you if that's what's happening.
Yeah.
If your kid is afraid to call you, you need to stop whatever you're doing and fix it. That's the part of society that needs to be adjusted, along with all of the other things. But anyway.
Along with a lot of other shit.
Along with a lot. I mean, we're only talking about a couple of things.
I'm definitely
here.
first call, I will tell you that much.
Yeah, so am I.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And are you first call with the girls that you brought into the blended family too?
Yeah. With one of my daughters, I'm definitely the first call.
Yep.
With
The other
the
one's a
other
little
daughter,
saltier, a little spicy.
She's a little spicy.
Tart.
Yeah,
Tart.
spicy and tart.
She's lemon, not lime, huh?
Yeah, she
Lemon,
she
not
has
lime.
to be in a lot of trouble
I
before
still-
she calls me.
I still like it, just not as much as lime.
I love that.
Yeah, whereas the other one, and I've got 3 grandkids, and
Yeah.
I'm first call for grandbabies too, and
I bet you are. I think
Yes.
you'd be. No offense, Mom, but I might call Calandra first.
yes, I'm that grandma.
Yeah, I bet you are.
Calandra's seen a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I'm calling Calandra.
She's got a
Yeah.
real helpful nature to it too.
yeah, because they know I'll get out of my bed and come. Where's my husband? He's like, "Do we really need to go now? This can't wait till tomorrow." Yeah, they're like,
no, if they called, you fix it right then.
Yeah. They usually call him because he doesn't answer his phone either.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think you did a fair job. I know that's an unfair question.
Oh, yeah.
How to fix it with kids, but if we're gonna do anything, if we're gonna get any information out into the world, you have to start with talking.
Yes.
Like it's gotta be talking, and I think adults don't seem to be talking enough these days about how the introduction of this new legal market is trickling down to the kids, and you can't look at that can as a 12-year-old and know if you're not going to read it. They don't look at much. They walk past everything like they just don't see a lot, right? And they aren't going to necessarily know that there's THC in there. I wish that the THC industry would put red caps on there.
Sure.
Every single THC beverage has a red cap. You can't get the red caps unless it's a THC beverage. It's not to call you out or anything. Right. It's just so that you can look at a kid and say, you're not supposed to have the one with the red cap. Not the red cap one.
I like that idea.
Yeah?
Yeah, I like that.
Should we work on some regulation? Should we work on a bill?
I think we should.
It could be blue. It could be green. I don't care. Yeah. Whatever color the cap is, it's just got to be, there should be a way that we can indicate. They should really do it for alcohol too.
Well, that's exactly. If you weren't going to make that point, that's exactly what was about to come out of my mouth. Right? Like whatever the color is, doesn't matter.
Look at the seltzer waters that don't have alcohol or THC in them. Right. Look at the seltzer waters that have booze in them, and look at the ones that have THC.
I have to.
They're all the same.
Yeah,
they're all
the same. Read it and try to decipher, okay, what is it that I'm getting? Whereas a 13, 14, 15-year-old, they're not going to do that.
They don't give a shit.
They don't,
They are just going to grab one.
What is, Hams and Coors Light and Insight Brewing, right? Like it says Insight Brewing, it says Avant on it. It's beautiful. There's, lovely art. And
these are really alluring cans.
What does it say? Like, what does Pilsner mean?
Right.
To a 12-year-old.
Or
do they know what Pilsner is?
Let alone a 6 or 7-year-old. Right. Which, we're supposed to watch them, and we do a pretty good job. I'm not saying parents are terrible.
Yeah.
But you got a party going on, and there's a bunch of kids running around, and there's a cooler here with something in it, and a cooler
that's
there.
What I'm thinking.
And you say, no, kids, don't go in that cooler. They're still going to look in there.
Yeah, of course they are. Yeah. That's the adult cooler. Let me take this like one stretch further. Yeah. Right? So when we were kids, what they did is they rounded us all up in the classroom. They said, we're going to watch a shuttle launch.
I remember this.
And we watched said shuttle launch, right?
Watched our teacher friend blow up.
Yes, right?
Oh, my God.
And
I
it was
remember
all
that.
recorded. It was the whole thing, right? Okay.
That.
This is just the first piece of it, watching a bunch of humans get blown up.
Right.
Right? And we just fed it to ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? What did the teacher say the next day? What was your level of support the next day? Did you have counselors that were brought into school to help you work through any emotions or anything like that going on? I understand the reach. And
we are forever traumatized.
I'm going to land.
He's going to land this plane.
I'm going to land this plane.
Okay.
Back then, that's what it was. Now, if we think about how it is that we parent, the emotional intelligence of the children.
They're smarter than us emotionally.
Right, correct. All of these things are happening. And then also, we have, babysitters We have electronic babysitters, right? Are we doing a better
Mind
job, or
Right.
is society
melters.
raising the children, or is the electronic raising the children, or whatever it ends up being? I'm bringing this back to putting a different colored lid on a can, right? And then the comment around, well, we're all doing great. You know, we're doing good as parents. We should be doing all of these things. At what point does it become an overreach to have to do this and to have to do that and to have to do that when we watched a bunch of humans just get blown up in front of us, and it was like, whatever, right? Like, I mean,
Well,
we should do better, and I think we are doing better. Is that taking it too far?
so my take on government and government overreach is that most things that ail a society should be taken care of through societal norm changes. Like we should, you know, if there's going to be a stigma around something, it should be around drunk driving.
Right.
Right. We should publicly shame each other.
Right.
Anytime we do something really stupid like that.
Yeah.
Should that person go to jail? And, you know, so the government has their role in it, right?
Yeah.
And the government part of it is sometimes they're not doing the best for the people. You know, they're doing some harm. So you should try and take care of these things through societal movement, right? When it comes to something like this, the government, if this wasn't an issue when we were young, this wasn't something that happened, right? There was either Coke or Pepsi or Orange Crush, and those were for the kids. And then there were bottles of beer. Like that's what it was.
Yeah.
Or cans of beer.
Yeah,
right?
cans of beer, sure.
Yep. And beer tastes like shit, and the orange soda tasted great, or grape soda, or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
either.
Yep. But what I'm saying is, I think the government should step in on this one, because in the absence of the government making any decision on something like this, we have created a situation where three different things, one that's just seltzer water, one that's with alcohol, and one that's with weed, look identical.
Yeah.
Basically, they are almost identical. No one's regulating it.
Right.
We have to do something.
Sure.
I think.
I mean,
I think that's a great idea.
I think it's a great idea as well. Alcohol free is on the label. What is this? It all looks great, right? And the answer, the challenge, the reason why I'm as challenged as I am with this, right?
Yeah.
It is a great idea. The challenge with it is that this can becomes a black can. It has to come in a bag, right? It has to, like, the packaging just gets out of hand. And the challenge with all of this is that it will be on the cannabis industry, and it will not apply to the alcohol industry. That's
I think
really though the
I think it has to be
challenging
both.
with it.
We're making, you know, you used to not be able to put alcohol in a can, right? Like mixed, you couldn't make a mixed drink in a can. I don't know what changed, but now you're able to buy like all the little mixed drinks in cans. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do.
Like-
They're ready to drink, so RTDs.
Yeah, I mean, that was not legal at some point. Those things didn't exist because there was regulation against it, I believe. We'll have to have fact checker check it. But anyway, let's get on to another couple of questions.
Yes, let's go. That was a fun one.
Yeah, I mean, the kids. I just want the kids to be okay.
Agreed.
I really like kids.
I
know.
I
Do
think,
it for the kids.
yeah, I mean, I think
Yeah.
the world needs to take a step back. The adult world needs to take a step back and think, you know, should we really be blowing stuff up? Do we really need new nuclear weapons? Shouldn't we clean up the world? All of it for the kids.
Right.
Because we're all going to die eventually.
Yeah.
Not that long from now anyway. Our poor kids. Like, let's just give them some nice shit for a while, should we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, there's my little rant.
Right.
I do love the kids. Okay. I have friends. So I smoked the pot in college. I can admit it. It's still awkward for me to admit it, but I can admit it. It's fine. I didn't harm anyone. No one, it was all good. In fact, I had some really fun times with friends, and we talked about weird shit. And I don't know, it felt nice sometimes. Then it didn't. It started to feel not nice, and I quit. And I mean, maybe half a dozen times in the last 30 years, someone's like, do you want some? And I'm like, I think I should. And then I'm like,
great
oh
idea.
God, why did I do that? Like,
Right?
This doesn't work for me. My wife's like, you are an idiot, you know?
Why'd you do that again?
Yeah, and I've got my older brother, the doctor, you know, he would be like, yeah, I think that's fine, you know, and then I'm like, yeah, but it makes me all weird. And he's like, don't do it anymore, then it's fine, you know. So I do largely, I mean, I'm not trying to, as much of two things can be true at the same time. People don't like this, but two things can be true at the same time.
Right.
I am an advocate for this being out there. I'm just not a user.
Right.
You know, it's not necessarily for me, and that's okay, but I am so happy that that it is not being weaponized against black people, that it is not being stigmatized in the ways it used to be. It's out there. People are educating themselves. You people are educating other people about it. I think that's all great.
I think it's great too.
But some of the people that were around me 30 or more years ago, when I smoked pot, when I enjoyed it, when I stopped enjoying it and I quit, they never quit.
Sure.
And I've not known them not to be stoned in 30 years. And that is another thing that people who advocate for THC don't tend to talk about. Is there a destructive side to it? Like, is there a harmful side to it? And I can't say that those people are harmed. I don't know. But if I stayed permanently somewhat drunk for 30 years, like I like drinking.
Right.
You know, I enjoy social drinking with people. Maybe sometimes I've drank too much. I'm not trying to be sanctimonious about this.
Right.
But I know people who have not been not high for 30 years.
Right.
Or
I do
longer.
too.
Yeah.
And is that okay? It seems like not a great thing to me.
I don't think that's a great thing. I've known people same way. Like they get up in the morning and instead of drinking coffee, they're smoking a joint.
Yep.
And I think that if you can still function in society and go to work and you can still have coherent conversations, well, so be it.
Yeah.
But if you, I'm not a fan of driving to work high.
Or home from work.
Or home from work high. Or during your lunch break high.
Right.
I'm
But
not
any
a fan
other
of
time
that.
it's fine. Only
Any other
these specific scenario.
I mean, we
Right.
could talk about driving and the
Right.
influence of marijuana, but
But if you're functioning in a high state,
yeah.
I do have a problem with that because then you can't remember really one day to the next, and how are you like really functioning at work, and so to me you're kind of flying very low to the ground when you could probably do more and accomplish more if you weren't high. Now that's also to me a symptom of a bigger problem if you feel like you need to be high to function, because I do know people like that. They say I can't do it without weed.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why not? You know.
Yeah, and I mean, is it possible? I mean, I'm trying to be open-minded about that part of it, because maybe there's some brain chemistry thing going on there where they're not like covering up some deeper, darker past trauma or something. Maybe that just kind of works.
You
I don't
know,
know.
it could be, you know, I'm just going to throw out, it could be a sign of depression. You know, sometimes people, you know, they'll smoke sativa because it helps them kind of get through their day, you know, and that's the only way they can really kind of do
I mean,
it.
I know
think.
some very high functioning people who have done, you know, pretty damn well with their lives, still been high probably every day, all day for 30 years.
Exactly. So you do have some people who are able to, you know, kind of get through. Now, I've worked really closely with people who they stay high and it is horrible. They can't remember shit.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and so
They
to
can't
this
remember
point,
shit.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I really
I'm
think
with you.
that there's quite a bit of stigma.
Yeah.
That's within a lot of viewpoints, right? Yours specifically,
I mean, there's
right?
And I know
Yours
there's no
specifically,
clean
I
answer
mean,
to this.
globally and right here at this table.
Yep.
I think that there's been a stigma challenge. That this is still a stigma challenge. If it is escapism, right, and that's why you are ingesting cannabinoids, right? You are doing it for the high. You are doing it so that you can release and not be a part of where you are in that moment, let's say. I agree, right? And I think that's what you guys are talking about. But then there's the other side of things, which is a little bit, right? Like smoking a whole joint in the morning, there's a tolerance thing, right? Like,
I get where you're going on
this is a whole tolerance thing. So just because if I smoke a whole joint, I'm going to be really high,
Yeah.
right? And I'm going to forget some stuff and figure, like, I won't know where this is and where that is, right? And some of that is just your brain doing too much, right? You can do that through a normal day. I know plenty of people don't remember shit, okay? And they don't even enjoy cannabis. They just don't remember shit. And their livers are shot too. So I think that's a bit of it. And if we're highlighting the idea of escapism and getting blackout drunk because shit, you got to go back to that job that you don't want to do tomorrow. I get all of those things. But for some of those individuals, which I think that it's a greater amount than any of us actually realize, that are, and high functioning is such a funny thing too, right? Like saying you're high functioning, it's, how about just you're functioning and you happen to be using this, or this in order to do it? Again, this is a plant. There's awesome things that have come from plants. But if we're going to prescriptions, we're going to alcohol, we're going to nicotine, we're going to all of these other things that are out there, really what's the most dangerous thing that we're really up to?
I think I'm more confused than what before.
Really?
Yeah, you just kind of took it in such a large circle that I'm not sure.
Because it needs to be in a large circle instead of what we have been thinking, right?
Yeah.
So we've been looking down, we've been looking through this scope, right? And we have this particular lens because of the scope that we've been looking through. We need to widen that scope. We need to be looking through something larger in order to help us understand and ask some more questions as to why somebody may be doing the things that they're doing. And I think we've talked about some of those, and it's depression, it's escapism, it's whatever it ends up being.
It can be, yep.
Right? It can be those things.
Yep.
I am also saying it can be those other things.
It can be other things.
Right?
Yeah.
And I cannot function because of I have to be high in order for this to happen. But then there's definitely, if you're using it for brain chemistry, you're using it for whatever, but there's not a whole lot of self-doctoring that people are great at, right? It's like, well, what are you doing? Well, I'm managing my mood by myself.
Yeah. There's that guy who was out hiking and he got stuck in the rock in the canyon and he self-doctored himself out of an arm so he could get out of that place. That guy was pretty good at it.
That guy was pretty good at it. That guy is pretty good at that.
This is why I'm imagining you're going to say this is why black people don't hike.
There are many things black people don't do.
And they do too. You know that there are people out there. Those barriers are finally.
There's certain things.
They're coming.
There's certain things we just, and we talk about this stuff like, other black people, like we see shit on the news. And we're like, she'll never see any black people.
Yeah. I read an article this morning about some 27-year-old who was a world-renowned free soloist mountain climber who fell to his death. There's not, hey, black guy fell off of cliff trying to climb cliff stories. Not very many of them.
Right.
Or black guy jumped off of mountain with squirrel suit on and crashed in the trees and died. These are always white kids.
Yeah, or we're not renting some capsule and going down into the deep sea to visit our ancestors. We're not. It's not gonna happen. We were all watching that. Like
out there that you're.
We're not giving you $250,000 to go see our ancestors, and it's just going down, and our ancestors are like, you ain't supposed to be here, right?
And then it crushes like a can, and you're like, well, go figure.
Boom.
Well, they found a few pieces.
Yeah, it's just something about going out to the sea like that.
Yeah.
And then to go on, it's not going to happen.
I don't have any desire to do it either.
Yeah.
Like keep me, first of all, keep me on the top.
Yeah.
You know, I can do that, but even that isn't that comfortable.
Yeah.
Like I don't love being out. It's exciting and thrilling to be
Yeah.
out on the open ocean sort of, but there's a part of me that's like, this isn't where I've got legs and arms. I'm supposed to be back there on the land.
Yeah. And you know the Titanic is down there. You know what happened. We don't need to see it. We can go to a museum, but it's
can
just
see
something
pictures.
about a ship, water, down. Yeah, we'll that's a hard pass for us.
In order to get
Damn, I
down
feel like
that
we're
far,
fixing things.
You have to go through some training. You're like, for what?
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say that there is, if you're looking at the scope, the lens that we're looking at life through, it's fair to say that there is a different perception that people would get if they talk about the black guy who's high for 30 years straight, smokes weed every day, versus the white guy who
Right.
does that.
Right.
Right.
Generally,
Right.
Right.
The experience and the reasoning is very different.
Yeah.
Very different. Yeah.
And anyway, I thank you for your answer. And I didn't fully understand all of what you were saying, but I did understand the point.
Right.
And the point is that like I'm trying to destigmatize that for myself.
Right.
Like I don't want to judge. And I don't really judge those people. Like I'm very good friends with some of these people and I love them very much. There's just something it makes me like a touch sad somewhere to think that like I haven't had a conversation with you in 30 years where you weren't altered somewhat.
Right.
I'd love to have just a few minutes of time where we talk non-altered, but that's fine.
It's not fun and it's not, intellectually good to talk to someone who's high all the time.
Okay.
I avoid conversations with people that I know constantly stay high because I'm like, number one, this is going nowhere. Number two, tomorrow you're going to ask me, what did we talk about? It's going to be a total waste of time.
I get that part of it.
So I avoid doing it because it makes no sense.
I get
to
it.
me. Yeah. I can't have an intelligent dialogue with you and you're high. You're not even thinking with all parts of your brain right now,
And so therein lies some of my fear around seeing my kids or anyone else's kids even start.
Yeah.
Because I would prefer that they didn't end up over here. I know a lot of people who are over here. I know some people who are over here. I just hope you don't end up over here.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Teaching them responsibility. I think that's the only thing we can do is teach them how to be responsible with what you use. And that's what I do with my at least two of my kids. The other daughter, she just kind of said, I'm going to figure it out on my own. But my son and my daughter, who has the 3 kids, once my son kind of figured out, dad's smoking weed in the garage.
Yeah.
Then we really had to talk about, okay, if you do it, as you can see, he's doing it in the garage after work.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
If you're going to do it, at home on your own time. Don't consume a lot of it because you still have to be, functional in society. And that worked. And it worked for both of them. And the other one, she just kind of prefers to do the gummy, after the kids go to sleep. And she'll do a beverage. But it's always after her parenting duties are done.
Right.
Kids are in bed. She doesn't do it in the morning.
Not doing it to get out of her mind. She's just
Exactly.
relaxing. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what I've taught her throughout the years is when to do it. Not,
So
you can be high all day, but no, it's when you're done with work or school, and maybe if you're being social with friends, that's fine. But make sure you get your business taken care of first.
Yep. So as advocates for the industry, as Minnesota's, I would say premier. We'll say premier, but we'll say up and coming cannabis celebrities. That's you two. Yeah. As those people, is it okay to advocate also that people don't have to use it? It's okay.
Absolutely.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like, because it feels like
It might not be for you.
Yeah.
if you're in the industry, it feels like there is this perception anyway in my mind and probably out there in the public that like because it's been legalized and because so many people are using it and enjoy it, that like it's for everybody. And it's not necessarily for everybody.
No, it's
and
not.
and for the people who it's not for them, they're not like just completely lame, right? They're
No. We're just
Do they even use that word anymore?
Not at all, because there are some people who there are a lot of people who want to use it but can't because they're a police officer, they're a firefighter, they're a pilot, a
Sure.
nurse, and frankly, you don't want those people.
I don't think there's a nurse
Using
out there
it.
that doesn't use it. But anyway,
I agree.
nurses,
I will tell you
nurses
that
are naughty.
You
are
are
very
100% right because
Man.
I have some in my family.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nurses.
But you're 100% correct. But like I don't want my pilot, using
no,
it.
I would prefer not.
Yeah, but even if you don't, that's just more for the folks who do.
Right.
So
So, all right.
It's like a roast beef or something. Like, oh, you don't eat meat? That's fine. There's more for us.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me expand our lens. All right. Okay. So that's just the psychoactive cannabinoid we're talking about. The rest of the plant is still for everybody.
yes,
Right?
that is true.
The rest
The
of the plant is
CBD.
still for everybody.
All right.
The intoxicating effects that you get from THC or any of its derivatives, right? That is not for everybody.
Got it.
The rest of the plant is for everybody. CBC, CBD, you name all
mentioned this all
of the
the time.
ones.
I get it. I get
It's
it.
true.
Those are an important thing to your body.
So this rescheduling of marijuana will allow more legitimate research to be done about all of these things. right?
Absolutely.
That is the great thing about rescheduling. There's so much more to talk about rescheduling because it
Yep.
needs to be descheduled. Because if it's rescheduled and there isn't different framework that's put together, then you have to
This
go to
is
a
the
doctor
US
to get
government.
get to a prescription.
They don't go from doing the wrong thing to doing the exact right thing overnight.
No.
They got some steps of partial wrong, a little bit less wrong.
Right.
Like they're not. But the rescheduling helps. Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
It does, because now it's in the same category as Tylenol with codeine versus being in a category with cocaine.
Right. And heroin and all the rest of them.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
So let's say that we rescheduled THC, right? The intoxicating cannabinoids are rescheduled, right? Okay, right? I don't like it, but okay.
It's a step.
All of the rest of it, descheduled. Let the rest of the plant go. Let the rest of the plant go. The intoxicating piece of the plant, that molecular structure and structures near it.
So
Maybe
the rest
you
of them.
reschedule that. I still am a fan of deschedule, and that's I'll die on the hill.
Yeah.
But
the rest of the rest of those C's are put into the same. I mean, I thought CBD is like just completely out there in the world. There's no one's getting arrested for CBD oil.
Right.
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 well, because it's legal as of the 2018 Farm Bill, but so is THC when it comes from that hemp plant. That's the whole thing that it ends up being, and so
Convoluted and weird and confusing.
It's just a mess and it's confusing, and that's why we're here talking about it. And
Yeah.
maybe we can make some form of sense of it because the government won't. But that's what we're trying to do.
Okay, so we probably need to wrap this up here.
We
fairly
should.
soon, but
We should.
I'm going to put in a plug.
Ooh.
I'm going to do one little thing here because I think Calandra has proven through her lifetime
Yeah.
that that change is possible. Things can be fixed, not necessarily 100% fixed, but and so this whole when we're talking about the government, I think people forget that the government is us. It's run by us. And it's not run by us because it's been taken over by the lobbyists. It's all these other things. But in the end, it is us. And Calandra's affected change. And we, too, could go out and advocate for changes and have those changes be made. And so it sort of makes me sad sometimes when I hear people sort of resign themselves to the idea that nothing can ever get fixed because government is untouchable and it's so stupid and they do everything wrong. And, and it's like, well, but actually, if you get involved and active and you really, really want to change, it may take longer than you want. Yeah. But it's the possibility is out there. Yeah. And it takes people doing stuff. Right. So good on you two for doing this show, for helping to destigmatize some of this, to talk about some of the injustices of the past and the stigmas of the past and the things that are changing and what's coming up in the future, and just generally educating people. I really appreciate what you do. So
sweet.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Well, now you guys, I mean, it's your show. Let's get us out of here.
All right. Well, you want to lead us out, Lance? Green elevator.
All right. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it. Can't wait for the next questions from.
Yeah, you guys are going to have some good guests come. I mean,
yeah, they're coming.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm just
coming. It's happening.
I was just easy. Not, yeah. You're going to get some real guests with some real knowledge.
Yes. Yeah, we're going to have
I look forward to
some
those
other great conversations.
Yes.
All right. See you guys.
See you.